So what did you take from that experience in terms of you literally did a launch? I mean, you were taking an existing brand in Letterman, but you're bringing it into a network that wasn't successful ever in late night. I forget the failures that they had, but they only had failures, you know.
Right.
What was going on in the room where it happened, as they say in Hamilton, but to own your brand within the brand of the network?
Look, the CBS culture was very, very rigid. And they were the Tiffany network. They were, CBS had design controls. They had books of how to present the logo, how to decorate your office. You weren't allowed to have X and Y in BlackRock in the early days. Everything was very, especially design. They had a vice president of design at CBS. His name was Lou Dorfman, legendary guy in broadcast television. He was a guy that created the playbook for the look and feel of not only the network on air, but the buildings and the facilities and the stationery and the business cards. And I mean, so for us to come in and do a deconstructionist kind of show that we did, we rocked the building. And they wanted the straight-laced promos, and we always battled with the promo department. And it's interesting when you do a comedy show like Letterman's, which we always considered a comedy show, not a talk show. Letterman was the beacon of the comedy there. He was the voice. He was the visionary. Everything stemmed from his brand of comedy. So all of a sudden, CBS, hey, we're in the late night business. We could be wacky and we could write these crazy promos. And, night after night, we were saying, nope, that's not the comedy of this show. No, that's not the way we do things. They have a very defined culture. Then I assume they still do.
It's interesting talking about CBS and they're very structured in the way they do things. But I loved how Dave would be very open with the audience of how he's kind of going against the grain of the way CBS is. Like his jokes or things he'd make fun of would be very open, and you don't always get that with, sometimes they think, oh, I can't say that about the company that employs me, but I love that Dave would always be that person. He just, again, being true to his brand.
As long as you're making money for them, they didn't care.
Exactly.
No, in all honesty, it was interesting. The only, he used to make fun of all the bosses he had, and that was, look, that was all of our upbringing in those days, when as products of the 60s and 70s, we were brought up to rebel. We were always questioning authority.
What would you say was the mission statement of the Letterman brand during those years?
The mission statement was more, we were going from the small room doing a late night show at 12:30 to going into the big room. And on the 12:30 show, we celebrated failure. If there was a mistake made, Hal Gurney, who was the brilliant director of the show, would have a camera and would flip around, and the magician's prop didn't work because some of the technicians on the floor didn't plug the prop in. And when the magician was trying to levitate David Letterman and the levitation machine wouldn't work, Hal would have a camera and he'd follow the cable down the floor across the room, and he'd show you the outlet where it was supposed to be plugged in. And that became the joke. And Hal really created that on that show, and it was the trademark of what we did. We loved having on acts that fucked up. That was fun. So when we went to CBS, our theory was we're now in the big room. We're now at 11:30. We're the flagship show of the CBS television network. We can't celebrate failure anymore. It's about success.
Your run at Letterman lasted quite a long time. What brought it to an end? Was that your choice, or was it?
Something. It was not directly my choice. I had kind of grown tired of doing however many thousands of shows we did on a nightly basis. It takes its toll, and it's definitely a young person's game. When I was in my 20s, I loved nothing more than going into the studio and knocking a show out and going home and doing it the next day. I thought, all right, we had this business. You know, one of the benefits of going to CBS was they gave us ownership in the show. They gave us, you know, money to fund a production company, Worldwide Pants, and we started doing other programs. We got the Late Late Show. We did that. We produced. We were producing sitcoms. We had to deal with Ray Romano, and we developed Everybody Loves Raymond. You know, so we had a burgeoning business other than the late night, and I kind of wanted to get into that and get away from doing nightly TV. You know, when I approached Letterman about it, his response was, well, no, you have to do the nightly show. You know, my name is on that show, and that's the most important thing that we do. And, you know, I understood it, but, you know, I think subconsciously I was not as into it as I should have been. And he one day just said, you know, look, we're going to make a change. And I was fine with it. And they were generous about it. And, you know, I moved on. And ultimately moved to California, got married, and have 2 children, and, you know, jump-started a life.
Yeah, I mean, you took what you built and did with Letterman and took it to the West Coast and worked with a lot of other big name comedians on some of their programs.
I mean, I always looked at my mission as developing. You talk about brand developing. I would take a well-known comic, you know, be it Chris Rock or Jon Stewart or Drew Carey, whoever it was, and create some new brand for that brand comic. So, you know, I always took great pride in being able to develop for established talent and new talent and young talent.
Why did you pivot to real estate? Was that something that interested you, or was it just, it happened?
You know, whenever I made good money, I would buy something. I'd buy a house in the Hamptons. I'd buy something here, something there. And I really made a lot of money doing it. I was pretty good at it. And I also used to buy art when I was making a lot of money. And between the two, I kind of thought, well, geez, I have a good eye. I make money doing it. If I ever give up the television business, one of those two would be my chosen career, or retire. And, you know, as I often say, I say it jokingly, but it's true that, you know, I got tired of the television business at exactly the same time the television business got tired of me. And, you know, I figured, all right, I can go into the art business, but the art business was also very ageist. You know, the young artists want to deal with young gallerists, and, you know, it became, it wasn't as attractive as real estate, where they kind of valued that I was my age and that I had made, you know, multi-million-dollar deals, and I had made deals on my own for my own homes. I had a very strong, you know, database of contacts, and, you know, I was kind of right for that business. So I started at the bottom. I worked with a company that had incredible training, and I learned the ropes.
For you to be so confident in your own brand and what you stand for, your personal brand, which is trust, and over time that you've built, you know, to start at the bottom in another business when you were literally coming off of the top, says a tremendous amount about you. And I think it's a great inspirational moment for anyone that sees this, because you could have easily said, well, I'm not doing this, you know, and gone someplace dark. But instead, you're dealing with all the people you've dealt with, and you're just producing homes.
Yeah, the work is exactly the same.
Right.
You know,
And
it's still about me as the brand. I'm the center of it all. And, you know, something, instead of checking ratings every morning, I go on the multiple listing service. I look at what homes are coming on the market, what homes have sold. It's still, I start out with numbers. You know, then the rest of the day I'm making calls or getting, you know, emailing contacts, you know, doing marketing, which is exactly what I would have done in a show. You know, you're making calls to get talent, to hire writers. I'm talking to agents. I still talk to agents, but other kind of agents. So, you know, it's the work is incredibly similar. And when you think about it, all work is the same. You're either creating a product or a service.
So, Robert Morton, Morty, it is really an honor have you
Absolutely.
on.
It's my honor. Thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you so much. And Valentino, thank you. Valentino comes through all the time. Tune in next time on Deeper Dives, and you've elevated our brand, so thank you. You did it once again.
My pleasure. You've elevated my brand. Thank you.
So lovely to meet you. Bye.
Thank you.